This video will cover the vet learning game and the rules behind it. It is titled Neurostasis, but I'm open to other suggestions. Being a neurologist, I always think neuro things first at heart. Remember, if you go to settings, you can change the difficulty of the vet learning game, but I'll leave it on the standard veterinary setting for now. So when you open up the game on the iPad, you'll be able to play it like this, or if it's turned. If you're playing on the iPhone, you'll have to turn the phone. But you'll notice at the top, there's going to be questions. These questions are a work in progress. A lot of them are more just for, I'm putting in a question at the moment and want to reserve its spot. So I definitely need to update the questions, but I had a lot of people ask me to just go ahead and get the game out because they were curious about it. So this is not a fully finished, fleshed out product, but it does work well enough and I think is entertaining enough that maybe it's worth getting it out there. So at the top, I need to answer questions about veterinary medicine. If you're not wanting to play the game, then you can just hit questions only and it's going to get rid of the game at the bottom. But for me, I find it entertaining kind of switching back between the questions and the game itself. If we look on the right side, we'll see that there's these kind of different options, things that we can collect that are not highlighted right now. And then there's different ions that are collecting within these grids that we need to get rid of, because once they reach the top, then the game's over and you have to restart. If one of the columns starts to get too high, you can shake it and it'll level everything off, and I'll shake right and I'll shake left. I'm going to go ahead and start answering some of these questions. We'll see how many I can get right by reading them real quickly. So now we can see that I have a bunch of different options here on the right and left. So now what I'm going to start doing is moving my sodium to the sodium-potassium ATPase pump, and then my potassium as well. I'm going to move there, and then I'll do an ATP to clear it. I'll have more sodium moved over just because there's a lot of sodium right now and a decent amount of potassium as well. And then I'll get my ATP to clear it. I'll move more of the sodium over here. Starting to get low on my ATPs. So I'll keep moving it over. And that's going to be the main function of that ATP system. I'm going to shake right, shake left. Something else to try to get rid of things is if we look here, we have bicarb and a hydrogen molecule that's going to make water. And you can move the different ions by clicking one next to each other. So say I wanted to move that hydrogen over, I can keep clicking, and then it's going to move it over. If I look over here, I can get rid of some of this as well. So here's some different water molecules that we can form. We can shake right, we can shake left. Chloride has a lot of different functions, so I can move it once I get it to the cell membrane over to GABA, and then I can select my GABA to clear the chloride. And sometimes you, depending on where the game is at, you might be able to just drag a chloride over. So I'm going to get rid of some of that chloride again. I'll hit GABA. There's also going to be this chloride bicarbonate exchanger. So if you have bicarbonate in the right position, then, oops, I need to move a chloride there. That's going to be another way to get rid of hydrogen, bicarb, and chloride. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of a couple more potassiums and sodiums because they're starting to pile up. So I'll go ahead and click on those. And we'll use ATP. Furosemide has a lot of different options that can be used. So it is wasting of a lot of molecules, but same thing with acetazolamide. So if I click acetazolamide, it's going to get rid of all the sodiums that it's attached to. So that's one way to try to clear the screen if it's starting to get a little bit cumbersome. Acetazolamide will also clear hydrogen as well. So if we had a lot of hydrogens next to each other, that would be, or not hydrogens, bicarb. If we wanted to get rid of bicarb, if we had a lot of bicarb that was piling up, we could select acetazolamide, click a cluster of the bicarbonate, and it'll get rid of it that way. For the calcium, the easiest way to get rid of that is going to be with calcitonin, so we can select a cluster of calcium molecules and it'll get rid of that. We can see our potassium starting to pile up over here. So a potassium wasting medication is going to be furosemide. So I get a cluster of potassiums together. Then I can click on furosemide and it's going to get rid of that cluster. Same thing for magnesium. I'm getting a pretty decent cluster of calcium here. So I'm going to try to get rid of calcium on this side. So I'll select my calcitonin, select it here, and we see that we just got rid of a large group of calcium. For magnesium, furosemide is going to be magnesium wasting. So we can select, get a cluster of magnesiums together and get rid of a large group of magnesium. And then it's also going to be chloride wasting. So furosemide has a lot of different options, and it'll also get rid of potassium as well. We see we have a bicarb here. If we start to sodium bicarbonate, if we start to get a group of hydrogen ions that get grouped up, then you can use the sodium bicarbonate. So I'll click here and get rid of this. And we're starting to get low on all of our different items that we can collect. So we're going to have to start answering more questions. For every 2 questions you get correct, you get 1 ATP. And then you have to answer a certain amount for GABA, a certain amount for calcitonin, for furosemide. So you don't get all of them all at once. It's a little bit of trial and error as far as trying to make sure you are utilizing all your components correctly. So hopefully you find the game entertaining, maybe a little bit useful as far as learning more information. If enough people end up liking the game and don't want to deal with the questions, then I need to figure out a way as far as how to make new collectibles. But for now, you have to answer questions correctly in order to get your collectibles. So I'll click acetazolamide, get rid of some of that sodium. Yes, furosemide is sodium wasting, but I felt like that was giving too much power to furosemide, and that's why it doesn't do sodium. But technically, yes, it will get rid of sodium. But that's the game for those that are interested, and maybe you'll find it a little bit entertaining.